Hello to everyone at the Australian Space Biology Symposium. I'm Dr. Gordon Cable. I'm Director of Space Medicine and Life Sciences at the Australian Space Agency. I just want to take 10 minutes or so to bring you up to date on what's happening with space medicine and life sciences at the agency, and I'm grateful to the organisers of the Australian Space Biology Symposium inviting me along to do that today. So I will try and share my screen with you and we'll get on with the presentation. So hopefully now you can see my first slide there, which is the title, Space Medicine and Life Sciences at the Australian Space Agency. So the director job has been a recent development. My usual role in aerospace medicine has been as head of training at the RAF Institute of Aviation Medicine, where I've been working for the last 24 years, mainly in the military side of aviation, of course, and more recently I've been appointed as an academic position to Associate Professor of Aerospace Medicine at UTAS. And that's really to run the space medicine course, which is part of their healthcare and remote and extreme environment program. The Australian Space Agency, being a government department, was able to second me from Air Force, and that happened in July. And I am working now half-time with the agency for a 6-month secondment. And my role there is to, as it says there, to support the definition and publication of the agency's roadmap for space medicine and life sciences. And I'll describe what roadmaps are a bit more in a moment. And also to do some work relating to joint missions with other agencies such as NASA in particular at the moment, of course, the Trailblazer program that is being developed. The space priority areas were defined in the National Civil Space Strategy the agency published some time ago. And these were the priority areas where Australia felt it could, I guess, best develop the space sector in terms of jobs and growth that was desired. You can see there's a number of different areas, including Earth observation, communications, robotics and automation. The one I would draw to your attention is leapfrog research and development, and that is the SPA, where space medicine was located. Really, space medicine, though, is the only part of that that SPA which is having a roadmap produced. So it has really been given quite some priority. Roadmaps were really required out of the Australian Civil Space Strategy because the strategy looked at the opportunity that could be engaged on the international, national level, but also ways that Australia could be responsible and inspire the nation using space. And it was at the national level that the roadmaps were described. So we had the remit to develop roadmaps in each priority area, consulting with government agencies, identifying opportunity for industry to develop, to invest, identify areas where we could find an effective strategy to deliver the space medicine goals or space sector goals that were desired. So the whole idea really behind a roadmap is to try and get alignment in capabilities and growth activities with strategic visions that are common. Then this happened. So this announcement last year by the current Vice President, Mike Pence, which committed the United States to put the next man and the first woman on the moon by 2024, the Artemis program. So by its very nature, Artemis, of course, is a human exploration program. And being a human exploration program, it requires a lot of medical input, a lot of life support and human factors that go behind that. And then this happened. The Australian Space Agency and NASA signed a memorandum of understanding in September last year in Washington with the Prime Minister present and Megan Clark. And that was committing Australia's assistance to NASA with Artemis to get the next astronauts to the moon. And it was a financial commitment of $150 million to stimulate Australian industry and academia and research to, again, promote jobs and growth here at home, but to aid the US effort to get humans back to the moon. So from that, I think space medicine became a bit more of a priority. So where before it perhaps wasn't as well recognised as an important part of the space sector and industry, now of course with human spaceflight back on the agenda, medicine is a component of that. And I think it's been realised that the medical industry and in space particularly has a lot to offer in terms of the economics and the jobs and growth that can arise from that. So we need a space medicine roadmap as well as those other space priority areas. And I hope it won't look as complex as that, but like a space mission like Artemis 1, there needs to be an ultimate goal, and there needs to be a pathway along which we transit and milestones that we reach in order to get to the goals that we set. So that's really the aim of the roadmap, is to plot a path from what we have now to essentially where we want to go over the next 10 years. To help this come together, I was charged with putting together a technical advisory group. And this will be not just a group that informs the roadmap process, but will be an enduring capability for the agency to call upon when it needs advice on medicine and life sciences matters. You can see on the slide there's about 18 different organisations there from around the country, both academic and government, from which we drew the 20 or so members of the technical advisory group. And at the moment, we're meeting about fortnightly to discuss the production of the roadmap. The segment diagram or list you see here is a way to break down space medicine and life sciences into areas of technical capability. And I'll explain how we came to these different segments in a moment, but you can see that the particular areas that we're looking at include radiation countermeasures, physiological interventions and reconditioning, healthcare in remote and extreme environments, psychological and behavioural health support, and healthy human environments. These are likely to be tweaked a little bit as we go along and as we discover more about our capabilities. But these have been based on some logic that I'll show you in a moment surrounding the hazards of human spaceflight. And they're really areas where we see there is a use case to be made for the technologies and capabilities that we have. And those segments arise out of our overall SPA of Leapfrog R&D and space medicine, which itself arises out of course, the national priorities as one of the 4 pillars of the space overall space strategy. The segments were derived from the well-recognised hazards of human spaceflight as defined by NASA's Human Research Program. For humans to successfully explore deep space, we need to overcome the problems of distance from Earth, space radiation, altered gravity, hostile closed environments, and isolation and confinement. But problems don't help us write the roadmap, but solutions may well do that. So I've flipped those concepts, those problems or hazards around into the solutions to those problems. So instead of, for example, saying distance from Earth, the segment is healthcare in remote and extreme environments. Instead of the problem of altered gravity, we're looking more at physiological interventions and reconditioning that might help mitigate that particular problem. And of course, you can see the other examples there on the slide. So that's the logic behind the derivation of those segments. And as we go along, as I say, they may change. But at the moment, we are in the process of scoping out our current state of the art. That is, looking at the capabilities that we have in each of those segments. And the technical advisory group has been divided into subgroups, into teams, with specialist areas in those particular segment areas to explore what our capabilities are. And already we're discovering that we have a wide range of diverse skills and capabilities out there in all those different segment areas. In particular, I'd call out things like microdosimetry in our ability to mitigate radiation. We are developing unique technologies to monitor intracerebral pressure non-invasively, which would be an incredible advantage, of course, in space, but also here on Earth. And one of the ways of investigating the underlying reason for spaceflight-associated neuroocular syndrome. In healthcare and remote and extreme environments, of course, Australia has a well-recognised global reputation in developing or delivering healthcare to remote populations. Our RFDS is iconic and has an amazing reputation, but I think we can leverage those skills, that experience in our ability to deliver healthcare in deep space. In psychological and behavioural health, Antarctic Division has been working in isolation and confinement for a long period of time. And in terms of healthy human environments, I'd call out there the food and nutrition capabilities that we have, particularly with research into long shelf life foods, which will be essential for stability of foods over long periods of time in space. So scoping out where we are today is the first step, but we need to figure out from there, where do we go? What's tomorrow? And we've managed so far to draft some visions and ambitions, and these are examples of our overarching vision and ambition statements, just to give you a bit of a flavour for the sort of things that we want to achieve with the roadmap and in the next 10 years. So our vision may say something like Australian innovation in medical sciences will help to mitigate the human spaceflight hazards of radiation, altered gravity, isolation and confinement, closed hostile environments and distance, and in so doing will improve the lives and health of all Australians. And I think it's very important in our vision that we reflect the overall vision of the agency, which is to in fact, be globally respected, to grow the broader economy, but also to improve the lives of all Australians. The ambition there is, again, reflecting the fact that we want to make Australia a healthier nation by the research that we do in space. So the roadmap is really how we get from today to tomorrow. So how we get from those current capabilities through to the visions and ambitions that we define. And the roadmap will be key to that. So, identifying the enablers that we need to move us along the path, and also to identify the opportunities that we can grasp and take Australia forward. Where are our niche and unique capabilities where the world will knock on our door and say, we want you to help us with those things in space? So I'll stop there. That's really a summary of where we're up to at the moment with the roadmap project, and a little bit about my role at the agency. So I might stop there and hand back to the session chair and to the organisers of the symposium. Thanks very much for listening.